Failure. It's one of the most uncomfortable, frustrating, and often misunderstood parts of life. Nobody wakes up hoping to fail. Nobody plans for rejection, disappointment, or setbacks. Yet somehow, no matter how carefully we plan or how hard we try, failure finds its way into our journey. And when it does, it can shake our confidence, distort our thinking, and make us question our own worth. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of it. The real difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck is not how many times they fail, but how they respond to it psychologically. Because failure doesn't just happen outside of you, it happens inside your mind. The thoughts you create after failure, the meaning you assign to it, and the way you emotionally process it. These are the things that determine whether failure becomes a stepping stone or a stopping point. In this video, we're going to explore 3 powerful psychological ways to overcome failure in life. These are not quick hacks or motivational cliches. These are deep mental shifts that can completely change how you see setbacks and how you rise from them stronger than before. Let's begin. Way 1. Reframe failure as feedback, not identity. The first psychological shift is to stop treating failure as a reflection of who you are and start seeing it as information about what didn't work. Most people make the mistake of personalizing failure. They don't say, "This attempt failed." Instead, they say, "I failed." That small difference in language creates a massive impact in the brain. When you tie failure to your identity, it becomes heavy, emotional, and paralyzing. It makes you afraid to try again because now your self-worth feels at risk. But when you reframe failure as feedback, everything changes. It becomes data, it becomes a lesson, it becomes something useful instead of something painful. Psychologically, this shift reduces emotional resistance and increases problem-solving ability. Instead of being stuck in self-doubt, your mind starts asking better questions. What can I learn from this? What can I improve? What should I do differently next time? Failure in this sense is not a verdict, it is a message. And once you learn to read that message instead of fearing it, you regain control over your growth. Way 2. Separate emotion from action. The second way to overcome failure is to understand that your emotions after failure are valid, but they should not control your actions. When something goes wrong, it's natural to feel disappointed, frustrated, or even hopeless. These emotions are part of being human. The problem begins when we allow these feelings to dictate our behavior. We stop trying, we withdraw, or we delay taking the next step because we don't feel ready. Action does not need to wait for motivation. In fact, action often creates motivation. If you can train yourself to act despite emotional discomfort, you build resilience. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means acknowledging them without letting them take over your decisions. For example, instead of saying, "I feel like giving up, so I'll stop," you shift to, "I feel like giving up, but I will still take one small step forward." That single step breaks the cycle of avoidance and slowly rebuilds confidence. Over time, your brain learns something powerful. You are not controlled by temporary emotions, and that realization alone can transform how you handle future failures. Way 3. Build a growth narrative in your mind. The third psychological strategy is to consciously create a narrative where failure is part of your evolution, not evidence of your limitations. Every person has an internal story they tell themselves. Some people say, "Things never work out for me." Others say, "I always mess things up." These narratives become self-fulfilling because the brain starts looking for evidence to support them. To overcome failure, you must rewrite that narrative. Instead of seeing failure as proof that you're not capable, you begin to see it as proof that you are trying, learning, and progressing. You remind yourself that every skilled person, every successful individual, has gone through repeated failures before reaching their goals. This is not about blind positivity. It is about constructing a mental framework that supports growth instead of shutting it down. When your internal narrative shifts, your behavior follows. You become more willing to take risks, more patient with progress, and more resilient when things don't go as planned. And over time, this mindset doesn't just help you recover from failure, it helps you use failure as fuel. At the end of the day, failure is unavoidable. No strategy, no level of intelligence, and no amount of planning can completely remove it from life. But what you can control is how you interpret it, how you respond to it, and how you grow from it. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who move forward is not luck, it is psychology. It is the ability to reframe failure as feedback, to act despite emotional discomfort, and to build a story where setbacks are part of progress, not the end of it. If you can master these three ways, failure will stop feeling like something that breaks you. Instead, it will become something that shapes you. So the next time life doesn't go according to plan, don't rush to judge yourself. Pause, reflect, and remind yourself you are still in the process, and sometimes the process requires falling before rising. Because in the bigger picture, failure is not the thing that defines your life. The way you rise after it does. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on one failure in your life and ask yourself, what is it trying to teach me? Your comeback might just begin with that question.